Are you guys streaming now or not? Not yet. So checking is my, can you be here? Okay. What? How will I test this? Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Is my voice clear over the net? Good. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to QYU Public Health Campaign 2022. I'm Wei San, and here with my partner is Kai Hui. So we will be your MCs for the session of the day. We are quite excited to have you here with us again today after an amazing physical event yesterday in Aeon Station 18. So we plan to continue that momentum for the next 3 days through the online platform with various engaging activities for our participants.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kai Hui. If you have missed out on the awesome series of events yesterday, you can still check it out by following our social media at QIUPSC_2022 for Instagram and Public Health Campaign 2022 for Facebook. But let's leave the introduction aside and move on to what really matters now. We are here to bring you some entertainment in this eye-opening online talk about smoking and the heart. Now, we all know that smoking is disruptive, particularly to our lungs. But what you may not know is that smoking also affects the heart.
Yeah, I agree with Kai Hui. So before we get into the gist of it, it is necessary for us to gain a little understanding of smoking and heart disease prior to understanding the relationship between these two. Therefore, we are honored to welcome our own lecturer from the QIU Faculty of Pharmacy, who is also a community pharmacist, to enlighten us on the interesting insight into the smoking and heart disease. Joining us despite his busy working schedule with Mr. Khairul Anwar. So, good afternoon, Mr. Khairul Anwar. Over to you.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about smoking and heart. It is a very interesting subject. It is a vital subject as well. Can everybody hear me right now? Is my voice clear for everyone? Good. So I'm going to share my slide now. I mean, we don't want to spend so much time about talking about this because it is a well-known fact that smoking is harmful. And then people have done studies to show that smoking can cause harm in a lot of areas, including the heart. Okay, so that's our talk today. Can everybody see my slide? Good. Okay. When we talk about smoking, right? Interestingly, in the year 2018, WHO do host a No Tobacco Day every 31st May every year. So in the year 2018, they make a statement that said tobacco break hearts. Basically, tobacco have been found to damage the heart in one way or another. Okay, if you're talking about literally, yeah, it will damage the heart. If you are talking, it also break the hearts of people who love you to see you pass away earlier than expected. So it is an interesting insight into smoking and heart disease and how it is related. Okay, sorry about this. Now, what is the known facts, the cause of death? I'm sharing this because I want you to see about what is the main cause of death based on our world data. This is something that WHO has been doing and people are monitoring. Even in Malaysia, it is more or less the same. So if you can see, the first cause of death is cardiovascular disease. That is what we are talking about during this campaign. The second part is cancers. Cancers can come in many forms. For instance, we got pulmonary cancers, we got GIT cancers, we got brain cancers, but cancers is the second cause of death. And then also we got respiratory disease. So respiratory disease, we are talking about asthma, COPD, TBs, and etc., etc. But when we talk about respiratory disease, it does relate to the function of the lung. Okay, so when it comes to the function of the lung, as we know, the lung is supposed to do is to, process fresh air, not particulates. But when you start smoking, you are introducing particulates and chemical to your lungs. And then, of course, you have your lower respiratory infection, meaning it's part of your lung. So meaning your lung actually become necrotic or something. So it's a very interesting fact. It's a very interesting statistic to put in your mind. Okay, so what type of disease is related to smoking? So we know lung cancer is a very well known. Actually, those who, compared to those who smoke and do not smoke, the person who smoke actually have a 20% more higher chances to have lung disease. Lung cancer. So basically what we're saying is that if you continuously smoking, okay, for certain numbers of years. There's is 1 in 5 chance that you will develop a lung cancer. Okay. Other than that, of course, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a very cruel disease in a sense. Basically, this is what I would say a one-way disease. When you have this disease, your life will not get any better. It will get worse. Okay. COPD basically is damage to the lung. It will damage the alveoli, and then the damage actually keep on increasing over the years. Even though when it starts, if you don't take precautionary measures, it will accelerate very fast. The only thing that you can do is that you can slow down the progress. So those who have COPD, basically, like everyone else, of course, but basically their life, the quality of life actually goes down through the years. The next is, of course, the heart disease, the main topic that we are having today. And then also stroke and asthma. And then what is worse, secondary smoke actually increase the coronary heart disease 25 to 30%, meaning that, of course, maybe you are lucky, maybe you are born with a good immune system, you are born with a good body that actually can process all the toxin that is being introduced to your body either by smoking or food. But there are people who are around you who don't have that ability. Okay, and then these people actually develop all the lung cancer, the COPD, heart disease, even though they don't smoke. They just inhale the smoke that you exhale after during your smoking session. Okay, that's one part. So basically, you are increasing their chance. So who are these people around you? These people around you are your friends. Okay, these are the people you keep around, your friends, your children, your loved ones, your parents, your wives. Amazingly, I'm not sure whether we actually realize we are harming those around us by giving them secondary smoke. Next, I didn't put here, but there is a study that has been done that show that the residues of smoke itself, meaning that when you smoke, right, the smoke actually disperse to the air. And then as a particulate, eventually it will land on something. It either will land on chairs, on toys, on furnitures, that sort of thing. So it does have the same effect as secondary smoke as well. What happened? They have done a study where a casino in Las Vegas was closed for nearly 20 years. So before this, it is okay for you to smoke in casinos. So the casino was closed and the furniture was not changed for the past 20 years. So there are residues of smoke there, of the cigarette smoke there. And then when they do the test, it have the same potency as secondary smoke. So can you imagine the availability of this sort of chemical in the air, and you expose your loved one to this? It's true that as a smoker, you have the right to smoke, but what is the right of the people around you? Then how do you show care about those people around you? I mean, even though it's your right, but then how do you care for them? Okay. Now, when you ask the public whether they know that smoking actually will influence their heart, in Malaysia, 6%, okay, 6% do know, okay, and 20% do know that smoking can cause stroke. Okay, the rest actually is not that clear. What is the relationship between a heart attack and stroke? What does this mean? Because as far as we know, smoke just goes into your lungs. Okay, when it goes into your lungs, basically you see lung damage. But we never relate that smoking also can cause heart problem. Okay, can cause stroke. And then I'm not sure whether.
Still got glass. Come inside. Wait. Still got glass. What do you want me to do?
Okay, so that's a nice interruption. Okay, so basically, this is what people didn't realize, and I don't think that anybody actually realized how can smoke cause cancer itself, because smoke do contain more than 4,000 type of chemicals, and these chemicals can actually trigger certain cells to produce cancer cells. Everybody is born with a cancer cell. The question is that how it is activated. So the more chemical you introduce yourself or your body to, the higher the chances the cancer cell will be activated. Okay, so smoking, as I said just now, do contain more than 4,000 type of chemicals, one form or another. Okay, and when it's being inhaled, some of them being exhaled, some of them actually goes into the bloodstream. One of them, the one with the chemical that we know that goes into the bloodstream is of course nicotine, that actually goes directly to the brain, actually within 30 seconds after you inhale your first smoke. Okay, that is an example of a very clear indication of that chemicals actually goes into your blood. And then for the heart itself, the nicotine itself actually increases the heart rate. So your heart is being what you call that? Being make it work more without needing of exercise. So basically, you are burdening your heart with unnecessary work. Okay. So what happened is that excuse me. When it comes to this, right, pathophysiology, just to share with you, this is a more what's called a scientific situation or scientific explanation on what happened when you smoke. So what happened is that, of course, we know that there are 4,000 type of chemicals, and then of course they come in two forms. That is the particulate phase, the gas phase, And then what happens is that when it actually goes into the bloodstream, right, there are tar and chemicals. The tar and chemicals actually damage the blood vessel, okay? Create an adverse lipid profile and thicken the blood. The most important part actually thickens the blood. So it can thicken the blood, meaning that will affect the most the person that will have the most effect is those with diabetes, as well as those with cardiovascular disease. The thicker the heart, the thicker the blood, the viscous, the more viscous the blood will be, the higher the pressure will go up. Okay, and then thus really cause cardiovascular disease. The next part is that nicotine. Nicotine itself is a stimulant, which actually will increase the heart rate and blood pressure as well. Because the faster the heart, the stronger the heart beats, the higher the blood pressure will goes up. Okay, so that's one thing. So now you have two chemicals that actually goes into your blood, into your system, that actually interfere with your cardiovascular system. And the next one is carbon monoxide. I'm not sure whether people actually realize what carbon monoxide really is. Of course, the most interesting part, or the most explained part of carbon monoxide is when carbon monoxide is being expelled through car exhaust. Okay, so carbon monoxide. Okay, carbon dioxide is carbon linked to one oxygen molecule. Okay, so it's a very stable compound. It will not react that much. But carbon monoxide is considered as an unstable compound. It is a carbon linked to one oxygen. What happens is that this lack of oxygen in that compound make it very reactive. So what it will do, it will bind to anything that actually, it will bind to anything and it will not let go. So what happens is that when you expose yourself to carbon monoxide, it will bind to your cells, and then it will not allow oxygen to be there. Okay, so your blood cell basically will carry oxygen, will actually bind to oxygen, and then will bring it to your heart, and the heart will pump it everywhere. And part of it goes to the heart itself to replenish the oxygen in the heart in order for it to function properly, in order for the cell to survive. But when the carbon monoxide actually takes the place of the oxygen receptors, it will not have the same effect as the oxygen. So it will not replenish or help the cells to grow. So in the end, your cell will die. Okay, if they just say continuously they cannot get proper supply for oxygen. This one also what happened if you have stroke or something. Now, the worst part is that our body do not recognize carbon monoxide. your inhalation and exhalation activities, right? For instance, if you hold your breath, right, then you feel like you're gasping for air. That's the term, gasping for air. That is because our body actually recognizes carbon dioxide and they need to expel it. But our body does not recognize carbon monoxide. What happens is that when you inhale carbon monoxide, if your lung is full of carbon monoxide, you will not have the impact that you want to breathe more because it's not recognized. So that's why if you keep on inhaling carbon monoxide pure through exhaust and that sort of thing, the end stage is, of course, you will die. But then at the same time, for this discussion, carbon monoxide actually will cause less oxygen will come to the heart cell, thus the heart will not get a proper nutrient or something, and then it will slowly degenerate. Okay. Now, talk about what are tobacco products. Just for this is what we call smokeless tobacco. So this is where all the nicotine and the things come from. This is what we call smokeless tobacco. Maybe for our generation, for your generation, you have not seen this actually. But for older generation, they like to chew tobacco. They like to wrap their own tobacco, that sort of thing. But mostly they are, for us in Malaysia, of course, they have chewing tobacco. Okay. But also we have snuff. Snuff is basically the one at the bottom here, if you can see it. Okay, this is snuff. Okay, it's doing portion. Basically, you break it and you inhale it. And then this is snuff where actually you just pinch it and you inhale it. Loose leaf is also something that you actually just chew. So basically, this is how nicotine is being introduced to the body through chewing, inhaling, and then that's something. So plug is also a compact tobacco which a person will chew. So basically, you are introducing nicotine without the smoke, but the effect is still the same. You are introducing the chemical, you are introducing nicotine, you increase the heart rate or something. Of course, there's not the carbon monoxide. Other than that, of course, you got the heated tobacco product. Here's the interesting part. Heated tobacco product is actually being produced by the tobacco company throughout the world. Philip Morris, British Tobacco, British American Tobacco, all the big company actually produce the heated tobacco product because they know people are actually against smoking or cigarette that produce smoke. So they are joining the vape industry as well, and at the same time they are introducing this heated tobacco product. The interesting about the heated tobacco product is actually it contains at least 2,000 chemical compounds. What happens is that it actually heat the tobacco to 360 degrees, and when it heated the tobacco leaf, it actually released all the volatile substance. So basically, the nicotine in the leaf and the sort of thing is being inhaled into your lung as well. So at the end, it's actually also as dangerous as tobacco itself. But the leaf is still intact. This leaf is still in good condition. The only thing is that the active ingredient, that sort of thing, is being inhaled. Okay. Now, the thing is that for heated tobacco product, it does not have the liquid. The one that we are very familiar with is this e-pipe, e-cigar, pod, vape, that sort of thing. So it got rechargeable as well. Sorry, it got rechargeable and that sort of thing. So this is another method of delivering nicotine to the body. Now, when it comes to liquid, right? We call it electronic nicotine delivery, or we also like to know it as this as well. Okay. So what happened is battery operated. It either micronized the whole thing for you to inhale. People will say that it does not have any smoke. Agree, but it is a delivery system. It does bring nicotine to the bloodstream. What happened? Of course, this one, the nicotine always will impact the heart. But the worst part about vape is that you're going to have your perforated lung disease. So what happened is that it will actually damage the lung in the long run. So what we have discussed about all the smoke or the tobacco that's being introduced to the body, basically what we are doing, we are fulfilling our desires, our needs to get what you call that, released from taking nicotine. So as I would say that none of this actually bring any good to you. It does not. What is the benefit it actually brings to you? You know, when you ask a smokers, any smokers, what is the benefit of you doing this? You know, if you eat, at least you have your nutrients coming in. But when you smoke, what actually the benefit you're getting from it? Okay. Now, what happens if, let's just say, you decide to quit? The first thing I would say, if you decide to quit, right? My first advice to you, we have been a long time smoker, there will be challenges. Okay. Whether you like it or not, you are addicted to nicotine. Being an addict, right? You're gonna have withdrawals. So for the first week, you're gonna have withdrawal symptoms. This is quite common. If you are long-term smokers, the few things that you're gonna face. For one of the withdrawal symptoms is that you're gonna feel your body being, like feverish, that sort of thing. You'll be there. Then you're gonna have mood swings. Okay, mood swings. Like for instance, you get angry, that sort of thing. So, okay. And then the next thing is that, of course, sleepless night, that sort of thing. So because your body is being deprived from taking nicotine. So because of that, usually we will recommend for you to have nicotine replacement. So what's the difference between nicotine replacement and smoking? Well, nicotine replacement is good because it actually is what we call a pharmaceutically prepared nicotine that helps to reduce your craving. And then you are not dependent on the nicotine itself. We are using the nicotine to break your dependence or your habit of smoking. Okay, it does not have the chemicals, doesn't have the 2000 chemicals, it doesn't have the all the carriers and sort of thing. It will not go anything into your lung. Okay, and the nicotine is very slow compared to the one that you are smoking. So the impact is slower, but it will reduce your cravings. Okay, so what happens when you actually stop smoking? So within 20 minutes, the heart rate and blood pressure will drop. Of course, it will go back up when you become very angry. So within 12 hours, the carbon monoxide level in the blood drops to normal. That is very, very important. So your cells start to recover. Okay. And then 2 to 12 weeks, the circulation improves and lung function increase. Because if you just see you start smoking, right, your lung will be damaged, you have emphysema, that sort of thing. So your lungs actually, the main purpose is that it's actually the serial cell that sort of thing. You take out all the particles from your lungs out. Okay, so within 2 to 12 weeks, all the particles, all the bad stuff is being taken out from your lungs. So thus, it will improve the lung function. Okay, here's the interesting part for smokers out there. You will say, when you're young, right, and when you start smoking at the age of 20, 30, like that, the interesting part is that you will not see the effect of the cigarette yet. Okay, you will not see the impact of the lung damage yet. But as you reach the age of 30, 40, okay, by that age, if you've been smoking for 10 years, I mean, in the beginning, you can say it's easy for me to stop, I agree. But if you have been doing it for 10 years, you are hooked on the nicotine already. And quitting for that at that point of age will be very hard for you. I don't say it's impossible, it's very hard. Okay? Now, so that's the most important part that I want to explain here. So that's why then those who are at the age of 30 to 40 who've been smokers, they will notice that their stamina actually goes down. Okay, their stamina actually become worse and worse and worse. I don't say it will become worse immediately, become worse. I do have people who do marathon who are smoking. There are a case where people actually show the commentary of people doing triathlon and still smoke. Of course, this is only for short term. Okay, maybe 2 to 3 years, maximum is 5 years, and then after that, hours. Okay, now, success of the quitting smokeless tobacco if you are using smokeless. 97 of oral leukoplakia are completely resolved. Okay, when you use smokeless tobacco, vape whatsoever, if you notice, right, your lips, the color of your lips, the pigment of your lips actually start to reduce. Okay. Other than that, of course, the cell is very hard for it to regenerate. So the color of your lips actually will become very pale if you continue using, we continue vaping very often. Okay. Other than that, okay. So 1 to 9 after quitting smoking, the coughing and shortness of breath will actually decrease. That's the good part. So basically, if you want to see any changes, you have to quit smoking for quite some time. You want to see a very what do you call that? A very strong change, then you have to wait 1 to 1 month. As I said, when you smoke, you take your time. You actually enjoy your time or take time to actually become an addict or making the thing into a habit. But now, after you have done that, you have to accept that in order for you to stop, it will take more than excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. Now, as I said just now, you take time to start the habit, to build up the habit, but so the same process goes as you want to quit. Okay? Now, after 1 year quitting, the risk of coronary heart disease is about half that of a smoker, meaning that you actually reduce. So instead of 1 in 5, so it's now 1 in 10. 1 to 4 years after quitting smokers tobacco, the risk of health stop nearly half the person continue to use it. So basically, if you actually change your habit, right, your life gets better. Okay, and then 5 to 15 years after quitting smoking, the risk of stroke is reduced to that of non-smoker. That's the extreme. And 10 years after quitting smoking, risk of lung cancer falls to about half that of a smoker, and risk of pancreas, of cancer of the mouth, throat, esophagus, bladder, cervix, and pancreas decreases. So basically, what happened is that, and then after 15 years after quitting, of course, the risk of coronary heart disease is set up, so never smoke, meaning that the damage you have done to yourself, right, it will take 15 years to repair for you to come back to normal. So that's why the government actually would like people, the end game, the generation end game. They don't want even new generation to start smoking at all. Okay, no matter how much you enjoy it, right? You still want your children to be healthy. You want your children to have a better life. Okay. Now, what if, let's just say, you've been smoking 10 to 20 years? What happened? So what happened if you start at the age of 30? So if you start at the age of 30, you'll gain almost 10 years of life expectancy. Okay. Before I continue, I would say, most smokers will say, look, all of us will die. I agree, no issues. The question is, how will you die? How do you want to die? You want to die gasping for breath, or you want to die in a very healthy situation, or at least you have some time where you can actually, sane in that sense, instead of gasping for breath, having to have oxygen support or something. So if you stop at the age of 30, let's just say you start at the age of 20, you start at the age of 30, you gain almost 10 years of life expectancy, meaning that your age will be increased in 10 years, up to 10 years. Because if you continue smoking, your life will be shortened by 10 years. This is statistically, okay? Meaning that if you're not exposed to other dangers as often, your life can actually extend 10 years. If you stop at the age of 40, it's your life to 9 years, 50, 6 years, and 60 is 3 years. Okay? If let's just say, that's how it will be calculated, statistics. Okay? And then, if let's just say most people, most smokers will stop smoking when they have a stroke. Okay, and they have found out that after the onset of life-threatening disease, rapid benefit, but people who quit tobacco after myocardial infarction reduce their chances of death by 36% and 46%. Now, that is a good sign of stroke. Okay, stroke, if you had it once, you're gonna have it again if you don't take care of yourself. Usually within the same year. So what I'm trying to say is that if you, first of all, anybody can have stroke, but the chances are lower to those who are not smokers, and it's higher to those who smoke. Okay. The next thing is that when you had stroke for the first round, there's a high chance for it to happen the second time, no matter whether you are smoking or not. But if you smoke, the chances will go higher. So that's why usually what we do is that we advise smokers to actually stop smoking if they have stroke. Okay, so it's never too late. It's never too late for you to actually stop smoking. Okay. So what's the benefit to the society? So the global economic cost of smoking is around 1.4 trillion per year. Okay, there's include 400 billion indirect medical costs, meaning that when you get sick, there's something that is related to the lung, to the cancer, to the heart that is caused by smoking. It comes up to 400 billion per year, and 1 trillion in indirect costs, meaning that when you get sick, right, is that the cost doesn't only comes from your, what you call that, your medical cost only. It doesn't come only from your medicine. Your family have to be there. Okay, you cannot go to work. After a while, you maybe get unpaid leave. If you are lucky, you can cover it by insurance. If you are not lucky, if you work on your own, then how will that happen? If you work on days, then those days that actually you can make money, you cannot work, then those days are gone. Okay. And then, of course, if you compare smoking to quitting smoking, of course, initially the cost will be high, but in the long term, the cost will be lower. The problem with savings that you cannot see it now, but the most important part is that you will have around better health afterwards. Of course, the question would be, is there any difference? Of course, you have to see, if you want to see the outcome of your effort on quitting smoking, right? Have a look at your friends who are still smoking, more or less at the same your age, and then continue smoking, and see what changes in them. Of course, in the beginning, you don't see any difference, but after a while, you can actually see there is a stark difference between your health compared to them in the long run. Okay, it's a very, I mean, I wouldn't say it's an ethical thing to say, but that is the only way for you to know whether your effort actually means something or not. Okay, and then of course, for you to quit smoking is around 1,000 to 6,000. That is this is just to reduce it, okay, to stop it. But then it will stop you, reduce the chances of you getting stroke, that sort of thing, getting a heart disease, that sort of thing. So in the long run, it's still worth it for you to quit smoking and do anything and everything in your ability to quit smoking altogether, especially with the purpose of protecting your heart in the long run. Okay. The next thing, of course, is cleaner air. Cleaner air for those around you. Okay. The society actually appreciate the smokers to smoke in restaurants, in closed spaces, that sort of thing. Okay. And then better child development. Now, when I talk about better child development, right, because you cannot compare the development of your child to if you are not a smoker. This is something that happened. Of course, we cannot be this. I can give you an example that happened in our society long time ago. Okay, not long time ago, actually, in the beginning of the century, the 19th century. What happened is that cars was introduced. Okay, When cars was introduced, so we have this problem. Of course, this is nothing related to smoking, but it is a very interesting comparison. So when car was invented, they need to what do you call it? Make a better fuel. The fuel might reduce knocking or something. So one of the scientists found out that if you put lead in the fuel, it actually make the engine run smoother and quieter. So they put lead. Okay. Before that, in the year 1800s, there are not there's no cars, and of course, petrol is not being used that much. But when they have cars, and then 40 is being introduced, and then leaded fuels being introduced to the society. Now, what happens is that they compare after a while, after in the year 1990, 1980s, 1990s, that the lead fuel has been banned altogether. Why? Because they found out lead poisoning happens everywhere. Okay, because we are inhale lead that is being expelled from the fuels from the cars. So what happened is that those society or those they compare those who stop leaded fuel compared those who still continues leaded fuel. What happens is that the two society perform differently. The society that stop using leaded fuel actually become less violent. Okay, they have that higher IQs. They have better life. Okay, whereas those with leaded fuel actually the society itself is more violent. They don't have a very their IQ is lower, and then they have a very hard life. Okay, Uh, in a way, it's the same thing. So of course, we don't want to be in that situation. To actually ask, what happened to our child if we don't smoke? Why do you want to take that chance? Okay, so might as well you quit your smoking, ensure that your children or those after you have a better life. Okay, you will not know because there's also some part of the smoke does contain lead after today. Okay, so it's better for the children development in the long run. Well, okay, one of the thing that smoke can cause because it contains the debris and everything actually can trigger asthma. Children with asthma tends to be smaller than other children. Okay, that is a fact. Okay, they'll be less active. Their their body structure will be smaller. They'll be more fragile because they have more times gasping for breath, or the oxygen doesn't arrive to their lungs or to their body parts to the maximum because they have the asthma attack and that sort of thing. And if you are a smoker around these children with asthma, you're just introducing particulates into their lung. That triggers asthma. So in a way, uh, even though your child might have asthma and you are irritating it is to make the thing worse by introducing smoke into the lung of that child. So you actually are what you call that slowing down the child development. Okay, so please, for smokers, think about that. Okay, in conclusion, I've been talking about the outcome of smoking. So basically, smoking does influence the health of your heart. As we said just now, we actually increase the tar, reduce the oxygen that needs to be replenished to your heart, and then increase the tar, make the blood vessel smaller, will cause lipid deposition on the vein, or something. In the long run, actually will cause stroke, and then increase your blood pressure, and then at the end, of course, you're gonna have the heart failure. Okay, now any form of tobacco product do influence the health of your heart because you're introducing chemicals, you're introducing tar, you're introducing nicotine. Because if you understand the process of tobacco itself, you will understand why this thing is there. In fact, just for your information, the company that actually produced tobacco for you to inhale to smoke whatsoever has engineered the leaf or has engineered reformulated the leaf to give you the maximum effect when you actually inhale the smoke whatsoever. Okay, so the best and the only option for smokers is to quit. Now, before I say thank you, you know, you have a choice. I cannot stop you from smoking. And I don't say people who are smoke are bad. You have a choice. Okay. You can choose a healthy life or not. But if you there's a movie, Thank You for Smoking. Actually, when you are smoking, right, you are actually contributing your money to the company. They actually for that, even though they care that you are getting sick from it. You are also contributing to the big pharma, which people really hate because the big pharma actually, there's always a controversy theory or something. But from behalf of the big tobacco company, those smokers, thank you for doing that. And you have to remember, this big tobacco company, they don't care whether you live or you die. As long as you smoke and you teach your child to smoke, they are quite happy with that. Okay, with that, I hope this session will benefit you one way or another. I hope that if you are a smoker, do quit. If you are a vapor, do quit. If you use any form of nicotine for your pleasure or something, please stop that dependence. Okay, there are better things to do, and then there are better ways for you to spend your time. Okay, with that, thank you very much, and I give back the session to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cairo. Okay, so that was a very informative talk. Now let's open to the floor for the audience for any questions. So do feel free to comment on the question down below in the chat box. I will be monitoring the question. I think it was a very informative talk. So I think by now all the participants should have a better understanding on smoking and heart disease. So as there is no question from the floor, I think that's all for the talk where we can wrap up our talk here.
A big thank you to Mr. Khairul Anwar for sharing his expertise on smoking and heart disease.
Wait, there's somebody else. Good evening, sir. I read that. That is true. That's why carbon monoxide can bond better to the hemoglobin than oxygen. Okay, because it is an unstable molecule. Because of that, if you inhale carbon monoxide, it will actually bind a lot better to the red blood cell, and then because the red blood cell will take carbon monoxide to the cells, but the problem is that they will not have any benefit at all. So because of that, the oxygen supply will not be replenished. That is why if you inhale carbon monoxide for a long term or a long time, you will die eventually because the oxygen doesn't go to yourself. And the problem is the body does not recognize the thing is happening. That's why carbon monoxide can be dangerous. And the worst part is that you are inhaling it when you are smoking. Okay.
Once again, a big thank you to Mr. Khairul Anwar for sharing his expertise on smoking and heart disease, as well as how we can follow them. It was truly amazing in many ways. On the note, I think it's time to wrap up our talk. We are so grateful for all your support, from participants to professionals, for lending your ears and your time to make this online talk a success. We are now going to send a link in the chat box for you to test your knowledge on the event. Please take note that prizes will be given to the top 2 scorers.
And once again, I would like to remind everyone to participate in the slogan design competition. So the Google Drive link for submission will be sent in the chat box. Make sure to subscribe and follow our page on the Instagram and Facebook with the username AllianceQYUPSC_2022. And also a reminder to all the participants, please fill up the Google form link for the attendance to claim your CCA hours and CPT points. And not to forget, 2 lucky draw entries will be awarded to all the participants, so make sure you fill up the form.
We will have another session at 5:30 p.m. on Online Fitness Session 1 featuring Mr. Sep Yong and Mr. Chin from Magnificent and Just Studio respectively. A gentle reminder to take your lunch before you join the session because it is going to be an intense session coming up. We cannot wait to see you again at 5:30 p.m. And also, do not forget to check out our merchandise on our social media. There are a variety of goodies that might catch your eyes.
And also a big thank you to all of our sponsorship partners. The event will never be the same without your help. So thank you for everyone for joining. You may take your leave now.